Great. All right. Excellent. Yeah, you'll hear from Cliff later. So here's our agenda, and we're gonna be flexible, guys. One of the things, we didn't want to make this a sales pitch for our product. However, we've gotten a lot of questions about our product. So how many folks that know anything about, or don't know anything about OrientDB? 1, 2, 3. If you're interested, we can go into a little bit about it. Like I said, we're going to kind of keep it agnostic to multi-model and graph databases. But if you have specific questions about OrientDB, we're happy to answer them. So we're going to talk a little bit about introducing the concept of multi-model and how it came to be and graph. And then Colin's going to lead us in an interactive discussion, really kind of drilling into the deep, kind of the technical aspects of a multi-model database and what that means and how it differs from others. And then Cliff is going to come up and give a talk about his experience with OrientDB, specifically at Ericsson, and how he leveraged the graph and the multi-model capabilities there. And then Colin is going to talk a little bit about a hackathon that we're going to kick off for anyone that wants to participate in that. And we're just going to lay out the ground rules for that and everything. And we have some pretty cool prizes that either Venus or Colin will share about that hackathon. So that's it. And we'll go ahead and get started. So I think everyone in this room is gonna flow with this. I'm gonna move pretty quickly. But the reality is we live in a world where data is growing exponentially. There's a study by IBM a year or two ago that says every 2 years the amount of data being managed doubles. So that's the definition of exponential growth, and that's what we live in. And the types of data has grown significantly. Historically, all that was used was relational databases, and now we've come into the world where we're seeing all these different types of database systems and the different types of data that's driving that from the different devices we have, as well as the different applications that are being built. IoT is driving a ton of this. I was talking, Cliff, what's your wife's name again? Elizabeth. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. So Elizabeth was just talking about the fact that her organization, she's got a nursing background, right? They set up monitors in people's sites, in people's homes, where they can go and just do blood pressure test, and it's tied into a cellular network, and they're pulling that data. That didn't exist 5, 6 years ago. So these are the types of things that are going on. And so you're collecting not only more data, but different types of unstructured data that, again, these legacy systems weren't really designed to handle. And then finally, what people are realizing is the value of data. And I was talking to a bunch of guys about the the digital transformation? That's a big buzz phrase going on, and this idea of transforming processes digitally. We hear about IoT and artificial intelligence. In fact, at OrientDB, which was recently acquired by SAP, our chief product officer was meeting with Angela Merkel, who is the Chancellor of Germany, just last week, talking about artificial intelligence. And really, that all comes down to data. There is no AI without data. So it's just all this is driving and just changing the world we live in. Database really got their significant initiative. I wouldn't say this is when it started, but the generation or the genesis of the relational database in the 70s is really where databases came into vogue. This is when Oracle started and other companies, and really it was around, as I said, structured data. Think about very business applications like accounting or Salesforce, right? CRM type of application where you've got records of data, and all the fields are the same, right? It's very structured, it's very organized, and you kind of build that application knowing what questions you're going to ask it ahead of time. So it's not real adaptable to changes in business. And really, the relationships aren't that significant. It's kind of the irony of relational databases. They've got that phrase in them, but with the type of data and volume we're working with now, they just really break down in building those relationships, and we'll talk about that. And then in the 2000s, we moved into the unstructured data world, and you started to see the rise of companies like MongoDB, which is a document database, right? We started to see significant growth in volume of data and different types of data and scaling these things out. And this concept of polyglot persistence that we're gonna talk a little bit about came into vogue. And now we've got just this massive growth of data. And really, again, I mentioned IoT, but it really drives it. I mean, we've got healthcare devices in houses. Airplanes now are constantly streaming data. One of our customers, a company called API Jet, that's their business. All they do is they collect data that they're live streaming from aircraft to report on system performance and how components are working in the actual in-flight. And that's just an example. You know, we've all got smartphones and wearables and these things that we use that are just driving a tremendous volume of data, and the different types of data. And part of that's driving this also are the complex applications that we're building now. I mean, think about, you know, before Travelocity and Hotels.com, right? We called a travel agent. Well, now we have these websites that have these very sophisticated applications, and they're drawing off of transactional data, right? That you would manage in an Oracle or a Microsoft SQL database, the actual transaction. You've got geospatial to locate hotels. You've got search information, right? So you've got those. You've got graph that's tying all these relationships together because you're doing basically almost queries on the fly, and graphs are very good at allowing you to connect all that data and build those. So it's a very different world that we live in, and that really is the world that this whole concept of multi-model came into.